Tuesday, May 15th, 2007, and this is the Hamtramck Human Relations Commission's first public event called Improving Communications in Hamtramck. We'd like to welcome you all here. Thank you so much for coming tonight. The first business in order is for you to be introduced to our Human Relations Commission. So we'd like you, all the commissioners, to please come toward the front of the room here for a minute so we can introduce yourselves to the audience. We have 12 on our commission. 6 of them are appointed by the City Council, and 6 are appointed by the Mayor. 2 of our commissioners were not able to make it tonight, and we don't remember which 6 were appointed by the Mayor or the Council, so we'll just introduce you to them. One of our newest members is Megan Slappy right here. This is Megan Slappy. And come on over here. Abdul Matlib is an active member in the community. And next is Kazi Miah, one of our younger members of the commission. Renee Farmer is a newer member. We're all new members. We've only been around 2 years, actually. But our very newest member is Sania Mandich Zuko. She just joined our commission today. This lady is not in the commission. Okay. And then we have Donna Evans, right here. We all know Donna Evans? She's at the door. And Gabriel Alaziz is a member. And Ahmed Alamaari. 2 who are not here is Anna Stahelik and, of course, and Dahan Al-Najjar. And our 12th member is on the panel, actually. It's Mahfuz, Abu Sayed Mahfuz. He's a member of the commission. And I'm a commissioner too. So that's the 12 of us. Now you know who we are. Please confront us anytime you want to with good things. Okay. Let's see, the second bit of order is for us to tell you what's going on tonight. We're going to have 2 parts to this event. The first half, we're going to discuss how to overcome the language barrier in Hamtramck. We're going to discuss that. Come up with some ideas, maybe. Then we're going to take a little refreshment intermission and invite you all to have some refreshments that'll be put out during intermission. And then we'll come back and do the discussion on overcoming the political barrier in Hamtramck. We have 5 distinguished panelists with us from Hamtramck and the environs, people who influence the media in Hamtramck as our special guests. And I'd like to introduce them to you. We'll start at the end on my left here. We have Abu Sayed Mahfuz, who is the editor of the Banglamar newspaper. That paper has been in print now for 4 or 5 years. Mahfuz came to America from Bangladesh in 1995. He speaks 4 languages. That's 3 more than me, or 3.5 more than me, actually. It's 4 languages. So let's welcome Mahfuz. He's going to be on our panel. Next to him is a newcomer to the Hamtramck media, but certainly not to Hamtramck. Dan Medow has been a native Detroiter, owns Standard Distributing, located on the east side for about 53 years he owned that business. Last 2 locations on Joseph Campo and McNichols, and before that with Gerard and McNichols. He invested in Metro Times and helped with their business issues. The newspaper, The Citizen, has been here for 73 years, he says, 73 years. And he's the newest publisher of The Citizen, and what else distinguishes him is that he is totally, what's the word, innocent or neutral in the political debates in Hamtramck, because he's new here and he hasn't picked any sides to be on yet. So let's welcome Dan Medow to Hamtramck. On my right here is a gentleman that I just met recently who I don't know what his official title is, but he's from Comcast Television, and we have a dear good friend in common, Ozzy Rivera. His name is Gerald Smith, and he represents the big company of Comcast TV, who also supplied the cameras for today's event. And what is your official title, Gerald? Area Director of Corporate Affairs for Comcast TV. Let's welcome Gerald Smith. Next to him is our other panelist, Hillary Cherry. Hillary came to Hamtramck very recently, in January 2005. And she's very computer literate and started a website, or now considered a blog, called Hamtramck Star. It's a very well done website blog. She actually started it 2 months before she moved to Hamtramck, and she's very active. You see her at council meetings all the time, and she's also on what other commission is that? Historical Commission. She's with the Historical Commission. And a little side note that she doesn't want me to say, but I think it's important, that she's a certified firefighter also. And this is Hillary Cherry. Let's welcome her. And our fifth panelist in the media is George Kristy, who many people know because he's been here many years. He's the president of Main Street Public Relations. He's been promoting Hamtramck by publishing Main Street newspaper in Hamtramck for the past 10 years. He's been doing business in Hamtramck for over 25 years and has been a member of the Hamtramck Chamber of Commerce since 1989. He also has lived in Hamtramck for over 30 years. Deeply entrenched Hamtramck and a great supporter of the city. Let's give a nice welcome to George Kristy. So we're very fortunate to have 5 media people here from Hamtramck, hopefully willing to address in a friendly, constructive way how we can overcome some of our language barriers and political barriers in the city, and how we can use the media to do that. So the first half of the evening is going to address this question about overcoming the language barrier. Okay. Language is obviously a vital tool. Not only is it a means of communicating thoughts and ideas, but it forges friendships, cultural ties, and economic relationships. We are a multicultural city here, probably more than almost any other city in the country. On many occasions, the inability to share a common language has prevented certain things from happening. It has made it difficult to communicate, work together, to understand basic government actions. It even deters developing friendships. There have been some cold-hearted solutions in the past, like the English-only bill, which would demand or declare that English is the official language and everyone is required to learn that or get out, whatever, that kind of thing. That's pretty stiff. The United States does not have a constitutionally declared official language, despite approximately 85% of the American people do read, speak, and do business in English. So anyways, I just want to start the discussion, and we have picked out the order on which we're going to discuss by fairness of the drop of the hat. So picking the hat. We're going to try to be fair with everybody today. We're limiting this to 5 minutes for each panelist to speak on this issue. We have a timekeeper. This is Megan Slappy, is sitting in the front row with her stopwatch and a sign. Hold up for a second. See, it says 1 minute, panelists. So when you see that sign, wind down your talk. And when it's the 5 minutes is up, she'll turn that sign to you and she'll smile at you and it'll say thank you, like that. Okay. An event took place Friday night here in Hamtramck that sort of made me think about leading into the subject. There was a wonderful program at the high school recreation building. Young kids doing a talent show. I don't know if anybody was able to attend that. But the first act in the show was maybe 40 or 50 young kids, from kindergarten or preschool. All different colors, different costumes. They were wearing the native costumes. And they all came out with little flags they held in front of them from their countries. The teachers were on their knees in front, helping them lip sync the song to the music was going on. They all sang a song together. And there was a couple American flags in the back holding up the kids, and they were all doing the song in their own way, and swaying back and forth. And the song was called "This Land Is Your Land." And we know how powerful that song is, that it means this country belongs to everyone here. And the way they all worked together in this song, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. I think everyone was impressed. It's just gleaming, smiling faces at how these young kids who, in a way, represent the hope of the future. These are the kids who hopefully will learn how to talk to each other and communicate. And I just wanted to start out with a discussion with that visual thing of young kids leading the way for us. So the first person to speak for 5 minutes or less will be our panelist, Sayed Mahfuz, to address the point about how overcoming the language barrier.
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you very much for attending this great event. And of course, I would like to thank City of Hamtramck Human Relations Council for organizing this great event. And I believe this is really going to be a wonderful occasion to build a bridge. I'll go straight. I have a few points here about it. First, actually I was planning to do PowerPoint presentation, but then I decided this way. First point is language barrier with who. I mentioned a few names here, a few words here. Neighbor, the people we go shopping, store, that we meet in the store, and also social friend when we go somewhere, and then co-worker. So these people we meet every day or occasionally. Now, especially if you look at the Hamtramck city, that we have people from almost all over the world. Now, in terms of solution, how to solve, I have some suggestions. I categorize it two dimensions. One is personal initiative, and another one is administrative plan. And then I mentioned few words here: know, understand, care. So you have to know these people, who they are. And one of the things like I learned from one of my psychology class is, what is strange to me may not be ultimately strange. So when someone is strange, someone is behaving different way, talking different way, even something weird to me, but it may not be weird at all. So that's, I cannot conclude, you cannot conclude by looking at someone's simple behavior something. So we need to know and understand their background, cultural background, why they behave certain way, and then care about them. Now, I have some specific suggestions. I titled this, how to overcome how to overcome it. And in personal initiative, I have mentioned a few things. Number one is use universal language. What I mean here is I have a few points here. Number one, greeting. Greeting doesn't need any language. If you just raise your hand, someone understands what you mean exactly. And then smile. Smile also another universal language. And then eye contact. Exchange gift. If you just give someone, your neighbor, a gift, you don't have to speak anything. So someone will understand that you really care about the person. And also help, like cutting their grass. Someone having problem with the car. And all these things. Also, suppose you are going shopping. By your expression, you're going with bag, or somehow your neighbor realize that you are going shopping. You can ask, or somehow you express that they need anything. So these are the ways you can exchange and show that you care, how much you care about them. And also another thing, learning their language. And as it was told that I personally speak, read, write 4 languages. And it is really amazing. When I speak someone's language, they feel really someone closer to them. And I myself, when someone speak my original language, Bengali, I feel really he is or she is really friend to me. So even one word, 2 words, if you don't have time to learn all of this, you can learn 1 or 2 words. That shows that you care about that person. So this is one of the other important things. And then also be caring, like other categories, be caring means invite them. If you can invite for your occasion, your son or daughter's birthday, or any occasion you can invite them. Look out for their rights, and then also make them safe, feel safe, and then respect their right. For example, someone's car, don't block their driveway, and then all this. Like if you show that you really care about them, then they will understand that this person and then can come closer, because even though you don't speak same language. And then last thing I have here, administrative level, for example, from city or wherever you are, that in store, if you own a store, you can look at that how many people, most of the people work for what country. If, for example, most people come here from Arabic, if you put some Arabic sign, they feel more comfortable. If someone from Bengali, see most of the customers are from Bengali, you can write some Bengali things. And then if you distribute a flyer, you can translate in their languages. So there are some kind of plan can be that everybody think that I am appreciated and I am belong here. This way you can build a relationship. And if anything else, if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer, share my idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mahfuz. I'm sorry, I failed to introduce myself at the beginning of the meeting. My name is Bill Meyer. I'm the chair of the Hamtramck Commission, Human Relations Commission also, so just for the record. Our next speaker is George Kristy from Main Street.
Welcome, everyone. Just to be brief, I just want to bring up a few points, about doing business in the United States. 85% of the people in the United States speak English. I mean, to survive, you'd have to learn, everyone would have to learn at least the basic English to do business in this country. I mean, it's not like, learn it or get out, but just to survive. Like our parents, when they came from Poland, they wanted to get in the business, they learned English. When they came from Ukraine, they learned enough English to get by. So that would be my suggestion. Everybody just take the time to learn the language of English.
That's George. Thank you, George. Next on the list is Gerald Smith from Comcast.
G, George, you want me to follow that? Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, Gerald.
How are you, children? First of all, let me just thank Bill Meyer, the chair of the Human Relations Commission, and this very esteemed panel for allowing me the opportunity to impart a few words to you with respect to where actually Comcast is with respect to Hamtramck and certainly our commitment here. It's been a while. I see former Mayor Tom Jankowski here, which we had a great working relationship over the years, and Dolores Sanchez, who was a very key member of the Detroit metropolitan community from the Hispanic Latino community, which we worked together on several projects. We are, and I'm just giving you a whole diverse perspective as we go forward here. Let me say that, first of all, that Comcast has a commitment to the Hamtramck community. I know there's been some changes, recent changes happened within the last 3 or 4 years. But let me say this, and one reason why I'm here, and I'm glad that Bill called me and said, hey, listen, can you come and speak to this event? And then later he said, can you bring cameras? And then he also said, he said, can you bring money? So I mean, it was a kind of a food too. So thanks for the glass of water here, Bill. Thank you. But let me just say this real quickly, a couple of things here with respect to our commitment. Television is a very, very powerful medium. We seriously believe that with the diversity in this community, I think Mahfuz said it very, very well when he talked about, the various diverse elements within this community. What better way to unite a community than to use an electronic medium to bring people together to create successful conditions for a community? And I think this is what it's all about. If you don't use the medium to really bring it together, then what happens is that media can in fact be an enemy of yours by creating and manifesting stereotypes. And you know how stereotypes can manifest themselves in media. They can lie, they can give all kinds of mistruths. So in a sense, what we attempt to do, at least at Comcast, is to provide those conditions upon which you can in fact learn to respect the difference. And I think that's what it's all about, is respecting the difference. And if you don't respect the difference, how can you come together? I'm just listening to Mahfuz and George, and I'm sure that the other panel will have some very timely things to say, but I'm just thinking that if groups come together, the media, various aspects of the media within this community began to form a coalition, a dialogue, focus groups that will enable them to exchange ideas about culture. Mahfuz talked about just a basic sense of respect. I mean, pulling out of your driveway, not blocking a driveway. That's not culture. That's just a respect thing, But it's all about understanding and learning the difference. And I think if you use the medium as an electronic town hall meeting as we have here today, that will enable people to actually visualize what these issues are, visualize what the challenges are, and then come up with some solutions that will enable everyone to come together to make this community a much better place to live, work, and play. And certainly that has a spiraling effect upon our children, because our children are watching this at all times. They mirror what we do. They see it on television all the time, whether they wear their pants halfway down their behinds or do crazy other things out here in the community. There are things out here that you can do right now in your own backyard that will enable this community to be a much better place to live. So what I'm suggesting as a challenge with respect to attempting to overcome the language barrier is to, again, use this medium. And I want to talk about a little bit more on part 2 of this discussion that we'll have, and certainly when the Q&A comes, you can ask me questions about this. But I don't think that we utilize the medium to the maximum. We have a studio that we'll talk about in the second part of this program that you can use to be trained to create your own message. And I think that's what it's all about. You control your own message. That goes a long way in terms of what you can do to bring the community together, get your message out, and certainly have a different mindset with respect to how to bring people together, to live peacefully together, and to respect the difference. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gerald Smith. Next speaker on our panel is Hillary Cherry from Hamtramck Star website.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting me here to this forum. Coming from a standpoint of trying to advertise events and to advertise things in the community, it's very hard in Hamtramck. You know, most places don't have more than one newspaper. And we have, 4 panelists here that represent newspapers. It's hard to get things translated. I only speak English, and it's hard. I might be able to produce something in English and Polish, or English and Bosnian, or English and Bangla. But when it comes to trying to translate things into Polish, Bosnian, Arabic, and Bangla to get them out, it becomes quite a challenge. Some of the languages have different character sets. I can't even produce the language with my equipment. It's hard to copy things. I might be able to get it translated, but for example, I've made some signs that I want to have different languages on the back, and I'll have to be able to write them myself because I can't expect any translator to make 12 signs for me. I don't want to impose on translators. I know it's very hard. People get frustrated if they have a group of people that they try to keep informed, and they get tired of translating for everyone. Most invitations to social events are by word of mouth, and it's often invitations are determined by who you know, and if you don't know someone who's involved, then you wouldn't find out about it. For example, last year with the Bangladesh American Festival, I live 2 blocks from Conan. That's where I do the majority of my shopping, and I see the signs advertising it all over the place, but I can't read them. I don't know what day it is or what time to show up for the parade. And so I have to count on other people to call me and to let me know when those things are. And unless you have that person, who will keep in touch with you, you just don't know when things are happening. And it's not that the festival is trying to leave people out. When you show up, they're so glad to see us. Everyone's very friendly and welcoming, but they just don't think that people outside their community are interested. There's no way for the average person in Hamtramck to learn foreign words. There aren't classes that I could take, for example, to learn Arabic or Bangla. On the website, I try to keep a calendar of every public event, but again, I'm limited to what people let me know about. And something else that we do is my husband and I share all the photos we take. I let Mahfuz and George and anybody else who asks, I let them use the photos free of charge, just because we want people to see more things in Hamtramck that are going on in the different communities. Some things that the internet does a good job of is it makes other cultures more accessible. Anybody can publish a website now. Anybody can read the Hamtramck Star. And, whereas I might go and take pictures of St. Florian or the Hamtramck Blowout or some of the other events, other people in the community would never go to those things and would never know about the things that happen that they don't attend. Some things on the internet that's changing is that there are new websites where anybody can upload their own content. Like, for example, YouTube. Anybody can upload a video to YouTube. And, for example, one person, a Yemeni man here in Hamtramck, who I don't know, there's a video of him playing a traditional guitar on YouTube. And that's something that I would never be invited to see. I would never have the chance to experience that, but it's on the internet and it's accessible to anyone. The other thing that is interesting lately is that with our website, other people who are bilingual, like Mahfuz, and there's another website called Polski Detroit. The author of those websites can read English and reports the things that he thinks are important to the people in his own language. And that makes things more accessible to people who might not have the chance to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hillary. And our final panelist to speak, and then we are going to open up to a Q&A for about 20 minutes or so, is Dan Medow from the Citizen newspaper.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank the Commission for holding this event, and I'd like to thank Bill for walking into the office, introducing himself, and immediately twisting my arm and saying, "You're doing this event." I said, "I'm doing what?" My partner, Jeff Meyer, and I just bought the paper on March 5th, so that's how new I am to this world. I'm not new to Hamtramck. And then it was interesting because then he called up and he needed the cake. I said, "That's fine." I went over to one of our advertisers and bought the cake, and so we spent a little money here, which I love to do. Now, talking about what I've done, the language barrier for me is immense. I put out a printed product. It is printed in English. The only Polish, sometimes there's Polish in it, and there's Polish in it because an advertiser will send me a finished ad with Polish content. Or this week there's an announcement from the Piast Institute, which is in English and Polish. So one of the things I'd like to do tonight is start to gather up names of translators. This is a serious thing. We have deadlines. We're serious about that. The paper comes out every Wednesday. It's finished on Tuesday. We actually, today, rewrote parts of it Tuesday afternoon. Then it gets sent up to the printer, which is in Grand Blanc, Michigan. It's printed, and it's actually delivered back to Hamtramck by midnight. Now, to integrate into this process a series of translators would be fantastic. I don't know how to do it yet, but I'll learn. I'll figure it out. I'm very intense and very intent on doing this. And I bought the paper knowing full well what I was getting into, because I came down and I talked to Eric Tungate, I talked to Sean Kowalski, and Sean I actually scared. He thought I was getting ready to open another coffee shop. Eric was just ecstatic. Somebody was coming to open up a new business or do business in Hamtramck. So it was just a lot of fun. And I am having a ball doing this. I love meeting everybody, coming to these events. And there's no axes to grind, no bones to pick. So it's fantastic. I can be everybody's friend. Now, on the other hand, the paper won't seem to be everybody's friend, because that's not what serious journalism does. All right? Serious journalism is there to shine a light and to start discussions. And that's what we do now, and that's what we're going to do. I'm just letting everybody know that up in front. Now, what I have done to address some of the language concerns, I haven't addressed the language. I have addressed the four major groups in the city by starting immediately an international news section. There's about a page and a half every week. And then I met, I forgot his first name, but George Rinaldi. Is it George Rinaldi?
Ralph.
Right, Ralph. Okay, I met Ralph, and Ralph said he teaches the ESL language. So every Wednesday morning he comes and picks 40 papers up, and he gives them and works with the students with the papers. The other thing that I did that I thought would be fun is there's an international news puzzle. And all the words that are the answers to the puzzle are in the international news. So I'm tying these things together, trying to get more people interested in the news, into reading the paper, because, again, I'm an entrepreneurial guy, and I'm not happy unless there's some cash coming my way instead of going the other way. So we're going to do everything we can to make profit and to have a lot of fun. Now, the last thing is that using the translators and perhaps finding some translation services, I hope eventually to get the Citizen onto the web as a newspaper. And if I can possibly do it, I'll have buttons on that web, basically English, Polish, Bangla, Yemen, Arabic, whatever.
My name is Niczay. I'm the principal of Dickinson East Elementary School. And before I address you, I just have to take 30 cents to recognize one of my heroes and one of the people that I truly think is a Hamtramck hero, and that's Mrs. Yvonne Meyer, who is on board. And the reason I say that is she attended the school. I've been a principal for a long time. You won't find a person that's more dedicated to the city of Hamtramck than Mrs. Meyer. My question is, or first I want to congratulate you on doing this. But I do want to make some a correction to Mr. Jankowski. The Human Relations Committee has been a long time. It started before Tom. And as a former member of that, we went through some sensitivity training about 10 years ago. And I think it's something that's very worthwhile, and at a different time, different place, maybe more information about that. And it helps different people from different nationalities and races get along. But my question is, the best way to try to get people, or the kids in the media, on Comcast TV, in the Citizen, in Main Street. It is a challenge. It's something you want to do. Mr. Meyer mentioned about the program that occurred last Friday. But my guess is none of the media here covered it. There was no pictures. It truly was a good event. There's numerous events happening in my building, in all of Hamtramck public schools. And if you can tell me how to get the kids on TV, because the future is the kids, they're very much appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a couple of suggestions. My name is Ralph Pinaldi. I teach English as a second language. And my idea is to open up the idea of English as a second language here in Hamtramck. But I know that we got 3 print media people represented on the panel. I was just offering a suggestion, if you haven't thought about it already, of maybe putting in your newspaper 2 languages. Maybe you could do this between the 3 newspapers, Bangla, and as well as English. Maybe a certain topic would be reflected both in Mr. Mahfuz, Mr. Medow, and Mr. Kristy's newspaper, whatever that topic may be. It'd be in English and in another language. Now, this isn't nothing new. In Dearborn, they have 3 Arabic newspapers. In Southwest Detroit, I think they've got at least 1 Hispanic newspaper. And it's bilingual. But the idea is maybe having something like that in Hamtramck and making a bilingual newspaper for maybe a couple issues, maybe something to get across different ethnic barriers, and maybe getting more people to read print media. Okay. And the other thing was opening up English as a second language to not only reading and writing and conversation, but the media itself. Comcast, and I don't think that's being done here in Hamtramck, and I don't even think it's being done in Detroit. I may be wrong, but the idea is, that more students should see how important information is, and information is the blood of the culture, of current events. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very
First of all, I have to give you a lot of credit, though. I mean, for perseverance. You stuck this thing out for how many years and went through how many members, and you're still going forward, so I gotta hand it to you. there's some challenges. I mean, you talked about radio. I was part of a small discussion about starting a radio station with Hillary's husband, Stephen. He looked into it a little bit. Didn't get very far, but the idea is floating out there. The other issue with Mr. Smith and Comcast, I mean, the fact of the matter is Comcast is out there, but so are lots of other dishes. And Comcast can only do so much. They can only get out a little to a small amount of the population. And I know Comcast has been committed, as we've talked about expanding programming when I was mayor, and he expanded some of the Asian programming. I know you're looking into the Polish and the Slavic, so that's still on the table. Ms. Meyer, school board, I know school board president Titus Walters is talking about starting a media program in the high school. I don't know if he's talked to you yet, Gerald.
No, he hasn't.
Yeah, he's approached the Recreation Commission, which I sit on, to see if it would help fund it. But he wants to bring in the cameras in the classes and teach the students how to, run video audio.
Sure.
So that will help getting the word out. I got to hand it to Hamtramck though. No, I didn't start the Human Relations Commission. They were worried. There would be bombings, there were going to be beatings, there were going to be threats. It didn't happen. And I have to credit Councilman Zwolak on that because he got it on the ballot. He said this should be a debate for council chambers, let the people decide. And once it empowered the people to decide, they had to live with their decision. And we've come a long way. I mean, when I was younger, that's why I chose my initial appointments carefully. And I told them, you have to do this job for me, and you help teach me. Okay, becoming mayor is one of the best teachers. It's just, I've met so many people and found out there is no difference. Okay, there really isn't a difference here. But again, Hamtramck, I really think it's come a long way to overcome a lot of the stereotypes that were out there. I mean, the whole R31 grade and dire issue was thrown at us for years, but it was resolved and it was fixed. Our neighborhoods are integrated, our schools are integrated. Lead Hamtramck in the future. I mean, there's a whole group of different kinds of children in our schools, and they've all been together, and they don't see black, white, Asian, Bangla, Arabic, Polish, anything. They're all just one. So, even though, these discussions are important, I think we have a lot to work with here.
I'm Dolores Sanchez. Unfortunately, I'm very voice brown thing. I feel somewhat honored and been mentioned 3 times tonight, so thank you very much. I do publish a bilingual Hispanic newspaper in Southwest Detroit. Prior to that, I worked over 26 years here in Hamtramck, so I know many people here. And this city, with so many languages you really need the available translators that was mentioned. And that begins with city government. They need to be working in cooperation with each sector, supplying adequate number of translators within their courts and within their different departments. Making every effort to work with the various ethnic groups. Perhaps form a committee with the leaders of each group. These leaders can pull in your bilingual volunteers that you need. These volunteers can also include our youth. You have many who are bilingual. Why should they be working at McDonald's? Get the business owners involved. Get the business owners to hire them. They can be working with them and also being available for the people where the translation is needed. Make the city so that people can live a decent life and be able to purchase groceries, buy a car, make it easier for them. And these are just a few suggestions, but I just find it, I only deal with Spanish, so of course, with many languages here, it is quite a challenge, but thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much. It'd be nice if we had more Spanish-speaking people.
Honored to.
I wanted to kind of follow up with Dolores' comment. I've worked with Dolores with Hispanic
the past 18 years. And much of it, not only we started back in 1988, but also from that point I've been involved in distribution and setup and everything else. I do want to caution the media, because I know you talked about getting these people to write and contribute. You got to be careful, because you have so many different languages here. I do tend to lean in George's direction here, emphasizing the English. With Dolores Sanchez's Central Hispanic newspaper, one of the big successful aspects of it was when we had the English and Spanish, same article. It was a great learning tool for English as a second language. I know that we have libraries and schools with one on paper because it was a great learning tool because you had the English and you had the Spanish. And I would suggest that rather than going into a comprehensive language paper, that you alternate and work with that English in Bengali or Bosnian or Arabic, you know, on a periodic basis. Because number one, these are your readers. I mean, these are your advertisers. And that's what you want, because being in the newspaper business, the media is a very expensive proposition. You need those advertisers to pay the bills. And what you need is the bilingual advertisers. The Arabic, the Bengali, the Bosnian. And I know that's more of a challenge, I think, than the readership. But it'll come if you can kind of split that paper into more bilingual articles. And Mahfuz, I picked up a couple of your papers, and I've seen some English articles, and they're just great learning articles about Bangladesh. So I would encourage you all to kind of share that heritage and that information with the rest of the community. I think that's going to bring us together too. Thank you.
Overcoming the political barriers. Now, what do we mean by political barriers? Some people asked. Well, like many other American cities, Hamtramck is now faced with the onslaught of federal and state policies that are challenging public education, healthcare, racial and ethnic issues that affect our standard of living. In a small town like Hamtramck, where some people's homes are 6 feet apart, long-standing relations have developed. In the political arena, they have at times been expressed as, unfortunately, hateful and long-standing rivalries sometimes. It's more than once that our city has suffered because of personal antagonisms that have prevented consensus and progress. People are stigmatized as aligning with one side or the other, and some old guard, a new guard, or opposition group, or whatever. These media outlets in the city have been associated with one clique or another clique, or one position or another. The media has, that sort of like contributes to polarizing the city. In a small town, we need people to work together, especially against the attacks on the federal and state level. So we have to work together. It's our mandate. Otherwise, we'll all go down together here. So as we begin the discussion from our panelists, I just want to recollect an event that took place the other day at the council meeting. State Representative Bert Johnson was at that meeting, and I think he coined this problem in like one sentence when he got up to speak to the council and mayor, addressing the new councilman, Al Shogun. He said, you know, I don't know Al Shogun. He sounds like a good guy to me. He approached me. I want to work with him. He's a good guy. But some people said, you know, watch out for that guy, or this and that, whatever. And then Bert said, I have never been in a town that has so many cliques and so many, factions, and you're all fighting each other. And I mean, there's such hate in this city, and it isn't constructive. He wants to work with everybody, and a lot of us want to work with everybody. We don't want to be assigned to one type of group, but you know, as soon as you work with one person in the city, the other group thinks that you're with that person and you're with that clique, and so they won't work with you, and then it further divides and divides. So this is a terrible structure that's perpetuated in this city that we have to find a way to overcome. I'm not saying we all have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We're not going to do that. Unfortunately, we do have enemies, but how can we get around that? And how can we find ways to make more friends and try to work around the cliques that form in the city? And I respect Bert for what he said the other day. He's new to this game and he wants to work with everybody in the city. And I think most panelists here also feel that way. So here they are, and they're going to express their opinions about the political divide, or political barrier as we call it. And we're going to ask Gerald Smith to speak first because he does have to leave soon. So the mic is with Gerald Smith.
Thanks, Bill, again, and thank you all for allowing me again to speak on this very critical part of the program. It goes right back to, I guess, my initial comments in terms of what it means to respect the difference in culture, what it means to respect the difference in terms of who we are, in terms of background, ethnicity, etc. Your reporters' questions: who, what, when, where, how, and why. If we can answer those questions essentially in a non-political way, then I think it'll go a long way in beginning to, and I hate to use this word, ameliorate or begin to correct the crisis that we're facing. Now, I take it as a challenge as a media person to look at how we can become stewards of the airwaves, honest brokers, if you will. So whatever message that you delineate and transmit through our airwaves will be an honest and fair way to actually get people to understand exactly what you want them to understand. That's a very difficult challenge. That's a very difficult challenge to be trained in a way in which you can begin to understand people, begin to overcome, as Bill has outlined, these political barriers. Mayor Jankowski stated in his presentation that Comcast is challenged in this community. I mean, we have formidable competition. It's called the dish. And I guess most of, how many of you have Comcast, by the way? Raise your hands. Whew. I'm glad somebody had Comcast. I'm almost scared. You have Comcast? No, we got to deal with you. Oh, camera here. That's an offline comment. We'll deal with it. Actually, it's just awesome to deal with you. Really? Okay. Now we really have to talk to you. But anyway, I think when I look at those who will be able to watch this broadcast, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Because if, in fact, you want to use these airwaves, Bill mentioned that you have 2 channels. And I just talked to your vice chair of the Human Relations Commission from the Yemeni community. I mean, they want to do some things on the air. I mean, you have vacant airspace to use. Now, if you have the vacant airspace to use, why not use it? We're opening these opportunities up. Mr. Lynch has taken, I think, has given his card out to several people, you know, stating that you can come and sign up free of charge to our public access training classes in September. What a great way to begin to break down political barriers by actually orchestrating your own message. And you know something, no other medium in this area will allow you to do that free of charge. I'm talking on the airwaves. Now, if George and Dan and Mahfuz can, you know, come together in such a way whereas, you know, we can begin to even use, again, the airwaves to say, hey, listen, these 3 newspapers have come together. There's a call to action for translators. We can put that on a community billboard. I mean, we can help it that way. Bill just mentioned there are 3 events coming up within the next couple of months or so. A community billboard, a public service announcement. These are means and ways in which, you know, in my judgment, you begin to transmit the message by overcoming ignorance, overcoming hypocrisy, by allowing people the opportunity to say, hey, these things exist in my community. Let's take advantage of the airwaves. That hasn't been done. How many people actually come to you and say, hey, I got some air travel. You want it? Think about it. You won't get it because it costs an arm and a leg to even contemplate. You can't even fathom using the airwaves. But here at Comcast, we're offering that opportunity. I mean, there are events that we had helped to sponsor over the years with George, with the annual festival. We're going to do those things. There are other events that we wouldn't mind actually coming to as well to help getting the word out. Now, again, It's all up to the people who are in charge of your equipment to make it happen. I mean, we can transmit this. We can transmit the message. And the more information that you disseminate and get out to the community, the better informed the community is. So in that way, as a representative of Comcast, I'm here to offer those opportunities, again, to be producers, to be transmitters of your own message, and certainly to put programs on that will reflect the experience in which you would like people to see and appreciate, and again, in the final analysis, respecting the difference as a result. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. You mentioned that you might be able to give contact information, phone number, email address, or something other than the 800 number that you get put on hold for 25 minutes when you call Comcast. Okay.
See that? See, beat you to the punch. Bill just had these digs at me today. We will edit that out of the program here. But I can be reached if you are ready. It's not a 1-800 number. That's 313. Y'all ready? Yes. 313-646-4202. 646-42, the same number, Bill, that you've been calling me on. So don't sit up and tell my 800. That's right, exactly. That's the number you've been calling me, right? All right. Thank you so much. And again, any questions that you have, please give me a call. And if Mr. Lynch, our supervisor, I don't know, yes, he's there. If you have questions regarding public access training classes, he will be more than happy to answer those questions for you.
Thank you very much, Gerald Smith, for being here and participating in this panel, because he does have to leave and we excuse you now. And the fact that he gave his personal cell phone number to the airwaves, whoever watches his television show will also get that number for the next 10 years when you keep rebroadcasting this show. So he's obviously serious about helping this community with television access. So thank you so much, Gerald Smith, for participating. Yes, we will notify people when this will be broadcast. Apparently this panel discussion will be shown on public access sometime. And we'll announce it hopefully through the newspapers here who are at this panel, and the website might announce it too, who knows. Okay, now we have put the order in this way, randomly picked. Next is Dan, then George, then Hillary, then Mahfuz. So next, here's Dan Medow from the Citizen, addressing the issue of overcoming the political barrier, which he knows nothing about because he's new to this city.
However, but we'll try and help everybody. We want it to be a good election. I've already asked Chip to contact the clerk in charge of elections. I want to know how many people voted in the last election. I want to know how many people were eligible to vote. And then we're going to start a series of articles. This is how you get registered to vote.
Great.
All right? Because if you don't vote, you don't count. You just don't count. And you've got to vote, you've got to get active. Because just like Comcast has free time available for those that use it, there are other places where there are lots of stuff available, but you've got to find out about it. You've got to ask questions. So that's it. That's all I have to say on this issue.
Before we go on to our next speaker, I was just curious, Dan, if you might know what the percentage of independent newspapers are left in this country in major cities. It's dwindling.
That's a good question. Last week, I went down to Indianapolis for a day and a half to a conference put on by the Inland Press Association. Inland Press is an association of people that want to see small newspapers and large newspapers continue. So they are an educational association. This was a day and a half of classes, absolutely intense, which I have not digested yet. But one of the things that they said, that in the last, 10 years, 1,600 papers have folded. And the other thing that came out was fascinating. They said, Rupert Murdoch wants to buy the Wall Street Journal. Okay, why does Rupert Murdoch want to buy the Wall Street Journal if media is having such a problem? Well, number one, Rupert Murdoch is getting ready to do a channel, a financial channel. And what does he need? Content. Where does the content come from? Basically from print media. And that's why Rupert Murdoch wants to buy the Wall Street Journal. And there were 30 to 40 small, independent newspaper people at this conference. In spite of all the negativity there is out there, nobody said they were going out of business tomorrow. They're all having a hard time. They're all having to reorganize their business. They're all having to deal with the onslaught of cable, and especially now they really fear the internet. Well, I'll tell you, when I sit down with a newspaper, I'm not sitting down with my screen. You know, I can't take my screen every place I take my newspaper or my book. So screens are good, but they don't go everywhere. And they don't stay around. And a lot of them, the ads are real funny, small, you gotta hit a link and then you gotta go over here. I love the ads in the newspaper. People wanna tell you stuff. So that's sort of the answer to that. We're not going away.
And we are very fortunate in a small town like this to have 3 independent newspapers, at least 3 that I know. We have to do everything we can to keep that condition, because once we all have to read the USA Today and find out what's going on in Dallas and New York instead of what's going on in Hamtramck, it's over with. And we're going to lose our own communication that we're trying to improve right now. So for a long time in the city, since I lived here, we moved here several years ago. I was originally informed that there's 2 major papers, or 2 independent papers in town, the Citizen Main Street, and one of them represents one faction and the other paper represents the other faction. So my intention was to read both of them and try to find out what both sides are doing. And let's face it, there was 2 sides of the story a lot of times, and one paper represented one side and one represented the other. So here we are with the 2 papers, the publishers, with both papers sitting at the same table now, talking together and contributing to this community. And it's a great improvement, and we really appreciate the work that George Kristy has done for many years with his paper, keeping it alive and keeping it going for 10 years now. And now the new publisher of the Citizen. Well, a fresh new start for the Citizen. Let's give him a good chance to succeed in an independent newspaper. And here's our other newspaper in town, George Kristy.
Getting over the political barrier in Hamtramck, it's tough. I mean, I've been here, well, my parents were born here, and just ever since I was a kid, it was always a political divide. One side, you side with one side, but to get over it, everybody just has to work together. That's the basic thing. People have to get over their stubbornness, and through the media, I stopped writing. I mean, I stopped going city council meetings. If somebody does something worthwhile publishing, I'll write a story about it. But to sit there and listen to the bickering, it just wasn't worth it. And that's why I started doing more feature stories, and I will continue to do more feature stories. If someone in the political arena does something worthwhile printing, I'll be glad to be there taking pictures and publishing it. That's it.
And now we're going to hear from the other form of media, the internet, the new wave, the new digital form of communication, the non-paper, the paper-free connection. So here she is, Hillary Cherry from the Hamtramck Star blog.
Thank you. Well, first, it's been mentioned before that one of the major barriers here is that people are pigeonholed. People say, they don't read the Main Street paper, they don't read the Citizen. I try to represent every side, not both sides, but every side. And in doing so, I've been called everything from a crony of the mayor to the opposition group to being too new here to know what I'm talking about. But we press on and we do it anyway because I think it's important that people know what's going on. We can only report on things that we're told about, and people talk to the media people that they trust, people that they know that they think that will fairly represent their opinion, their side. Invitations to participate in city government are often based on who you know and are not advertised to the general public. Like any small town, people here know enough about each other to launch personal attacks. and to grow suspicious of one another when they don't spend a lot of time with people that they perceive to be the other camp. There's a fear of public debate here. People don't want to be in the public eye. They don't want to be threatened. They don't want to have lawsuits filed against them. And people that would rather not know than be involved in a mudslinging fight. People aren't interested. They don't have time for that. The website that I have, I try to make the city government more accessible. We videotape the council meetings from Comcast. They have a camera there in the room, and we record their broadcast and rebroadcast it on the internet, so that if you can't be there at 7 p.m. or on a Tuesday, or you don't want to sit in the city council meeting and have everybody staring at you, you can watch it on the internet by yourself in the middle of the night and still learn what happened at the meeting. When we started doing the video, I debated whether or not to stop writing out a description of what happens. And I decided to keep that up because people on the internet search for things, and the more content you provide as a website, the more people come and learn about Hamtramck specifically. On our website, we don't allow personal attacks. We delete them outright. I don't feel that I have to rebroadcast someone else's vendettas. Before we started here, there was another forum in town, the Delta forums, and that was not a rule. People typically personally attacked each other and called each other names and posted with 8 identities, and it set a certain tone on the internet that was very hard to overcome. We just don't allow it. An interview that I read today with a woman who, she started a website, and it was about creative writing. It wasn't anything controversial, but she made the statement that she thought it was okay to delete comments that were personally attacking or objectionable. And the readers responded by threatening her with murder, sexual assault, to the point that she completely withdrew from the internet. She no longer participates on the internet at all. And another person who runs a website in that same interview said, you know, if I didn't moderate what sort of comments people leave, then it would be all young men here. Everybody, when you start insulting everyone and attacking everyone, the first people to leave are the women, and the second people to leave are everybody over 55. And then you have a bunch of young men attacking each other, and that is the forum then. The other thing that we have a policy about is that we require commenters to stay on topic. We don't allow people to bring in information that's not pertinent to the discussion. And there's a movement for this on the internet to change the social norms and the way that people interact with each other, to abide by a code of ethics that where abusive comments and personal attacks are not allowed. Some discussion boards have been closed completely for the lack of resources to moderate. A website called the Chow Hound, which is a food weblog, has 3 paid moderators to delete offensive comments, and that it's completely about food. One of their most common things they have to delete is about children in restaurants. People aren't capable of having an adult discussion about it. In other communities, politicians are using blogs. Where we came from in Washtenaw County, there's a website called Arbor Update, where nearly all of the people of the Ann Arbor City Council post on that website and straighten out inaccuracies or try to promote things that are going on in the city. City councilman in Ypsilanti has a weblog. A school board member in Ypsilanti has a weblog. And the Washtenaw County clerk has a weblog specifically about elections and different things happening in the clerk's office. John Conyers has a weblog, one of the few that allows comments by the public. And the great thing about the internet is that it's open to anyone, and you don't need an invitation. You just have to make up a name and start posting, and your reputation is built on what you say and how you treat people. And I think one thing that could help in this respect is for people to open up their mailing lists. There are a lot of different mailing lists in town, and depending on which ones you're on, you may or may not find out about different events or things that are going on, and I hope there'll be an effort to open that up.
What's your website?
It's HamtramckStar.com. My husband and I keep it together.
HamtramckStar.com. Thank you, Hillary, for many good points there. And now to conclude from our panel, before the Q&A, we hear from Sayed Mahfuz.
Okay, politics, right? I'm a little nervous, really. Even though I spoke before, now I'm sure everybody knows why I'm nervous. I think already they shared that why I shouldn't be nervous. And especially always some of my friends say these, don't say these. So I really understand what the problem in Hamtramck is so far. Okay, before we start, I would like to appreciate or recognize some distinguished guests, those who I know for very well. Bert Johnson, state representative. I met him before election, and I actually see him very wonderful person. And also former Mayor Jankowski, also Councilman Zwolak, Mr. Zwolak, Bob Zwolak, and I think Dr. Ghazali left. And also I see Mrs. Meyer, but I think she left. However, I have written few points. And I was nervous, I'm still nervous, because I was hesitating, thinking several ways, what to talk, what not to talk, and what should be the beneficiary. So it's really tough, and as all of you mentioned, I think everybody understands. But I'm very hopeful, there is chance, it should improve, it will improve, maybe. I've written a few points here. One of the things, nature of political barrier. What is the barrier here? One of the things, of course, national, as you know, that Democratic Party or Republican Party. I don't think we need to discuss it here. In Hamtramck, I mentioned here that few points, potential Hamtramck barrier, differences in opinion, differences in faith, differences in culture, difference in language and expression. Even though we discussed before the language, but I would say the expression, because sometimes you say something, maybe you don't mean that way. Someone can understand different ways. So that's the reason I mentioned language and expression. And then I have here how to overcome here. Now, going very quickly, opinion, of course, everybody has opinion. You have opinion, I have opinion. And it's good to have opinion. You have right to have opinion. I have right to have my opinion. But as long as I don't think that my opinion is the opinion, or only opinion should be. And same way, faith, I'm also, by the way, I'm part of MRDI, Michigan Roundtable, and Diversity and Inclusion, NCCJ as well. I'm proud to say that I've been working with interfaith groups, so that's make me feel that we need to be together from all these point of view. And then also cultural point of view have differences. I don't have time to discuss all these in detail. However, many times it happens that for example, and there's an Arabic friend here, like burping. If you hear the word burping, you may say, well, what is that? But of course, a different format. But in the Arab culture, but some area burping is good because Arab people like to feed people. But when you eat, you finish, you're satisfied. You make some sound that they feel good. They invited you, you are satisfied. So what I mean here is that every culture there is a reason what is behind that. So that's what we need to overcome all these differences. And then I'll quickly go to how to overcome. One of the things is prioritize the public interest. You have your agenda, I have my agenda, and I will see my point of view, you'll see your point of view. But public interest should be on top. We have differences, but we have to prioritize the public interest, city interest or country interest. And then agree to disagree. That yes, Mr. So-and-so, I don't agree with you, but still, can we sit down together? Can we talk? I don't agree with you. I'm not saying like or dislike, but still, we have differences. Disagreement with respect. I disagree with you, with due respect to you, I know what you're saying, but I disagree with you. And then, appreciate opponent's valuable opinion, even though if you reject it. Someone made a comment or someone has an opinion in the meeting or somewhere. You say, well, I respect what you say, and I think there are some good things, but I strongly disagree with that for these reasons.
Yeah.
And then no personal attack. I think somehow Hillary mentioned this is the always should be. No, it should not go to personal level. I'm talking because of public interest. You are talking because of public interest. You thought this is the good way. I think this is the good way. So I should not attack you personally. You should not attack me personally. You should not take it personally. Then I'll go quickly. Communication techniques. Few things to build and keep at least normal relationship. When we see each other, we should say hi to each other, shake hand. How are you doing? At least some normal relationship, and greet each other, appreciate each other, exchange gift. There's nothing harm. I don't like you, or I don't agree with you. We know we have differences, but I think can I give you this? This way, I can build a relationship. And then have lunch, dinner, party together. Unfortunately, sometimes I see if one group organizes something, other group doesn't want to go there. I don't understand that really. We can have dinner together, we can sit down together, say, okay, I don't agree with you, I don't like what you're saying, I know even you're going to talk against me, but still I'll go there. So you can talk, I'll listen to you, whatever you say against me, I'll listen to it. But still I'll go there. Okay, I'm done actually. Last thing, I disagree with your philosophy, understanding, or method. Still, we could be frank and discuss together. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that was inspiring. Thank you to all the panelists for their contributions. Let's give them all a nice round of applause. This was very, very positive and productive. And before we go to the Q&A, I just want to throw out a few thank yous here. First of all, for George and Dan for bringing the baked goods. For my wife, Twyla Meyer, who helped put the stuff on the food. And to the Human Relations Commissioners.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I know you got to turn it on, Jack. I'm your state representative, Bert Johnson, and just sitting here listening to the conversation. And number one, I want to publicly thank Bill Meyer for continuously inviting me to come here and speak before you. It's been a very difficult, long thing that we've been doing in Lansing for the first 5 months of this year, dealing with the budget. And Gabriel Aziz has been equally imploring me to get before the Human Relations Commission. But I noticed on the back here, the sign says improving communications. And when you talk about political barriers, think, that's putting it lightly. In Hamtramck, there's a political wall that is up. And one way that I know how to deal with that is, my mother always told me that no matter where I went, I was going to make friends, because I have sort of like this friendly countenance, I guess. That doesn't mean that I'm weak. Doesn't mean that I'm soft. It just means that I recognize what being human is really about. I went to Catholic schools all my life. Went to UD High. And if you know anything about UD High, you know there's white, black, brown, yellow, green, red, you name it. We are all there in that school. And one thing you learn very quickly when you are with people who are not like you historically or a part of your heritage, you understand that everybody is just a little different, and we all have something to offer. So I quickly realized at 13, 14 that there were smart white people, that there were smart black people, that there were smart Arab people, that there were smart Puerto Rican people. I quickly realized that there were stupid black people, there were stupid white people, stupid Puerto Rican people, stupid Arab people. And stupid means that you don't recognize that somebody has something to offer. Now, I look around this room, and all the people that I know in this room, whether it be politics or just kind of hanging out and having some fun, I got to know every one of these people because we just bumped into each other. When I met Mahfuz, he kind of looked through me, and he said, you know what, because we were quite frankly talking about whether or not he could support me. And he looked through me and he said, you know what, I don't even know you, but you're a good person. And that was on a Sunday morning when we first met. Everybody else in here that I've met and I've worked with, it has just been because that's where we were and that's what we were doing. And I've never judged anybody in here. That's not what this thing is about. But when it comes to improving communications, and I see your sign, I'm gonna be quiet too. When it comes to improving communications, the thing that I think is most important is that we get in front of each other and say something. We have to say something. You don't have to necessarily like me. You don't necessarily have to want to be around me, but you do have to respect me. The same as I have to respect you. And the more that we continue to work our differences out, but do that understanding that respect has to be the first thing that we employ, we will go a lot further with all of our relations. And you'll see that this room will fill up over and over and over again. So last point, how do we get over the political wall or get through the political wall in Hamtramck? We have to act. We can't just keep talking about it. We have to act. We want people to recognize that there's something good about what you do here at the Human Relations Commission and that there's a better way to be politically in this town. We have to act, let people witness the change and the difference, and then people will be inspired to kind of put their ignorance aside and get involved. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ahmed Alamaari. I'm with the Human Relations Commissions, and I'm the Vice President of the National Association of Human American. I just would like to thank you all for being here. I agree to a certain extent that we have problems here in Hamtramck, but like other cities, there is division, especially in the political arena. But the question that raised, ask every one of you, I would love to ask every one of you, is, as in the media players, how can we overcome this barrier? If I, as an individual who is actually speaking different language, besides the English language, think and have a recommendation for you to educate the public about every event that's actually happened in the city of Hamtramck. Educate them about their right to vote and the importance of voting. The reason we see certain individuals staying in one place and trying to make themselves in a war and try to just grab a few people around them and say, okay, we represent Hamtramck, the other group does not or do not represent Hamtramck. It's because not everybody's voting. We have about, what, 20,000 people live in Hamtramck, but only 5,000 vote. Why? Then this is my opinion, and we say, I'm not saying facts, I'm saying just opinion, so you could disagree with me, but I think the media, whether it's Comcast or internet-based or newspaper, should educate the people of the importance of the voting, of their participation in the political life. And we are here as a non-profit organizations. We're willing to do translation, and in many cases, we did for free. If there is a message need to be passed on to our communities, and I mean the mainstream community, Hamtramck, I work in Hamtramck for the last 7 years. I believe it's getting better, and I really want to recognize and thank previous Mayor Tom, because actually he did a lot of things. The change started when he was a mayor. And the human relation device was a debate that you could see the previous war. You haven't seen as much as I saw before. He would, just only to come up how many commissioner should be appointed by the mayor or by the city council. You feel like it's a personal property. But thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Hey, our timekeeper, Megan, is doing a great job here. She's keeping you down to it. Okay, Mahfuz is responding.
Yeah, I have a quick response to Ahmed, as you said, how can newspaper do? Actually, I remember, I think 2 years ago, when Tom was mayor, I interviewed him for my newspaper, and first page was Bengali, inside was English. So then, I don't want to mention few council members, those who were not his side, they came to me, first asked, what is this written? I said, English is there. And then I said, okay, translation inside. When they read it, they said, why don't you interview us? I said, you're welcome, anytime, anything you want to say, as long as it's... So what I mean is, yes, newspaper can be open, and also, sometimes even I say that if you criticize me also, if it is not illegal or if it is not something morally harmful, I'll publish it, whatever you want to say. So I think newspaper can be open to everybody and interview whatever they want to say, especially the people who don't focus. So I think we can do that. And if you have anything, no suggestion, you can tell us, we'll try to follow that.
I just want to add one thing.
Educate. That's all what we ask you for, is just to educate the public.
I just want to thank the Hamtramck City Council. One of your videotape helped me talk one of my cousins out of going into politics. He's in Pennsylvania. He called me up and he said, listen, he just got his degree in the Department of Community. He was like, listen, Kazi, I'm thinking about going into politics. I'm like, are you sure? I'm going to mail you something and get back at me. He called me back and said, what the? I'm not going to get into details. But on the seriousness, we got to get our acts together. It hurts the city. It hurts the city's image. No business want to come into a city that has council bickering and acting like that. And especially the business that are in here like me, we're going to be suffering more. Not that we have been suffering enough. So please, get the stuff together, you know. Please.
We will go.
I just want to speak real briefly, actually. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marino Taylor. I work as Legislative Director for State Representative Johnson. Working in Hamtramck, Highland Park in Northeast Detroit, I've noticed a lot of things about our community. One of the things that I want to say is that we spend too much time focusing on our differences. We have so much in common living in this small area. We all share the same schools, the same water, the same air. If we just took time to focus on the things that we share in common, we could break down a lot of barriers as opposed to focusing on our differences. The differences are the things that make us special, and right now we're focusing on our differences as the things that are breaking us apart. So if we focus on the things that we share in common, I believe that we can find some things to get behind each other on and build a better community and build a consensus. As well as I would like to say our office is there for everyone. We have a district office on 7 Mile and Goddard. We can always be reached if there's any community concerns. Our number is 888-338-7375. Thank you very much for your time. I want to thank you.
Thank you. Well, let the one politician be opinionated today. I want to, again, thank Phil Myers and the panel and everybody here that's come here today. So it gives me an opportunity. I'm Bob Zwolak, City Council. I'm Hamtramck City Council. I'm not one to mince words, especially on the council, but that's my opinion, and one of the things that I strive for on the council, and that's, as a council person, I can only do one thing. As a councilman, I can only initiate legislation. I have one vote. It's my job to initiate something. It's my job to convince people and possibly pass a resolution and move forward. Now, I know Hillary has her opinions on the Hamtramck Star. I appreciate that, but her name and her signature is there. We agree, we disagree. George is not opinionated, but he does provide a great PR situation in the paper. I don't think he's really politically oriented. Mahfuz, I can't say much for you other than the fact now you are a council candidate, and I've already cautioned you on the paper because I was there once before when I published the paper. So I know it's like not to abuse or misuse your own publication for your own benefit. Okay. Now, when it comes to the citizen newspaper, I think Dan will find out that there's certainly a history there that he does have to overcome, and he will have to create his own image. I have a lot of respect for Chip, and Chip covers a lot of bases in this community. That has done for a lot of years. But every time I see an editorial, I always think it's Chip doing the editorial. Because like I say, I know where Hillary stands, but I'm assuming that everything in the Citizen is Chip's editorial. One of the problems I have in the political barrier is when I'm trying to initiate something, I don't appreciate when the local media tries to sabotage it before we've even worked out the political or the process by trying to work things out. If the Citizen wants to run the legislative process, then they should run for political office. There's a lot of things that we know that the paper doesn't know. And when I say that, it's because I don't always get a call asking for more information or input. But I certainly see my name and comments an awful lot on the paper without a comment or without some explanation. So I'm not telling you how to run your paper, but I am saying let's be a little bit more objective. And I have one fortunate situation when I published a paper, and I had a reporter, God bless his soul, Dennis Karaskevich, wrote something rather derogatory about me in the paper, in my own publication. So, I mean, that kind of says something for how I publish the paper. I don't tell my writers how to write, but I expect them to be fair, honest, and objective. And again, I'm not being critical, Chip, but I do wish you'd call me and get more of an opinion from me than assuming this is the way I think. That's all I have to say.
First of all, I want to thank the panelists for their great insight and comments and participation. Thank you, George. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Gerald, who's not here. Thank you to Dan, and thank you to Mahfuz. And the Human Relations Commission, thank you. We're on our way. Thank you to each one of you who spoke and asked a question, and for you who attended. We have to be realistic about the situation in Hamtramck, first of all. We're not trying to say that we're all going to try to find a way to get along with each other, because we haven't found that way, and there won't be a way sometimes. There's long-standing feuds in the city. So I'm not saying we have to overcome long-time family feuds of hatred and stuff like that. That's just like, maybe a psychiatrist has to deal with that. But we can deal at least with finding ways to work around that, to find ways to work together, and to find commonalities, like our friend said. We don't all agree on political issues by any means. Some of us think we should unite with Highland Park for the fire police. Some people think we shouldn't. Some people are for the war in Iraq, and some people are against the war in Iraq. Some people are concerned about the discrimination suit, one way or the other. We all have political and positions about many issues. We don't have to agree necessarily on those issues, but we have to find a way to talk to each other, to discuss these issues for the benefit of everybody, like Mahfuz said, for the public interest. It's because the rest of us want to go ahead in the city, and while in the meantime, we're getting crunched in public education and health care, and we're going to be sitting here fighting each other while the city goes down in fire, because there's things coming in from outside that are just killing us. So we have to find ways to work together and find commonality and common ground. And these guest panelists and the media here who represent the media are helping us to do that. And you people out here, obviously, by staying here, are willing to do that and hold it. And so I want to thank you. I want to thank you all very much for coming. There's more refreshments. Thank you.